Hello, my name is Aviva, and today I wanted to share with you all of the books I'm hoping to read in November. So in the month of October, I made this whole mystery and spooky vibe TBR because I was really hoping to read all of the books that I was saving for the month of Halloween. And I only ended up getting to two of them, mostly because at the end of the day, I am just in the mood to read romances. I don't know why. I really do enjoy reading other genres, but at the end of the day, for the past couple of months, all I've been reading and all I've been enjoying is romances. So this month, we're not gonna pretend anymore. And I basically have a large stack of romances that I'm hoping to read this month. So first up, I'm hoping to read the Club Trilogy by Lauren Rose. So this is a collection of 3 books, and then there's an epilogue that comes after it. And I basically read the first book in the series in the month of October, thinking that it was a companion series. And then halfway through, I realized that it's actually going to be a full-on series. So I right away went online to try and get book 2, 3, and the epilogue just so that I had them all in my hands. And I couldn't get a hold of book 3. It was sold out everywhere. So I kind of freaked out because I was really enjoying book 1. So I ended up messaging the author on Instagram, Lauren Rowe, and she so kindly sent me the entire trilogy, as well as the epilogue, as well as a spin-off series that connects to this book. And then she signed all of them personally, and she sent me bookmarks and basically a whole amazing package that I'm so grateful for. So basically, now that I have the rest of this series in my hands, I am hoping to finish it this month. So the thing is I do have a hard time jumping into stories once I've already left them, even if I was left on a cliffhanger. It's just the way that my brain works. But the thing is, I really want to push myself to read the rest of it before it gets to be too far away from the time I read book 1, because I really enjoyed book 1 and I just have to push myself to continue because I know that I will enjoy the rest of the series. So I'm putting it on this TBR to force myself to get to it before it gets too late. But basically, this is just a really steamy romance series about this sex club. This guy basically applies to get into this sex club and he writes this whole application, and then this girl that works for this sex club basically reads his application and sends him a private message based off of what he said. And then he's really intrigued and wants to find this application girl, and he's gonna go and try and look her up and find her and all that stuff. And the story's kind of just gonna go from there. So it's really good. I very much enjoyed book 1. So I really hope that I get to the rest of the series this month. Next up, I have Dirty Letters by V. Keeland and Penelope Ward. So this was actually just recently gifted to me off of my wish list by one of my Instagram followers named Violet. So thank you so much for sending this to me. And I very much wanted to read this book. So the second that it arrived, I obviously added it to my November TBR. So good timing there. But basically, in the month of October, I did read one other book by this duo author, and I really enjoyed it. So I have a good feeling that this book is going to be absolutely amazing. And then also, she said that she read it and she loved it. And just overall, I've seen amazing things about this book. It sounds very similar to Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas, if you've read that before. It's a very popular book. It's basically about these 2 people who have been pen pals their whole life. They were kind of best friends growing up, but they never actually met. And then for some reason, they're going to stop sending each other letters. And now it's 8 years later. And I guess they're going to pick up writing each other again, but it's going to turn romantic and steamy because I guess they're adults now. And then basically the girl is going to want to meet him. And he's like, trust me, you don't want to meet me. And she's just not going to listen. And she's going to try and find him. And the story is going to go from there. So it sounds really good. I heard that it's pretty steamy and I am really excited to read it. Next up, I have From Luca with Love by Mariana Zapata. So this is the last book by Mariana Zapata that is currently in my library. I'm kind of on a mission to slowly read all of her books that intrigue me. She has some books that I just know I'm not going to be so down for, but this one happens to sound really good. I mean, I don't even really know what it's about. All I know about it is that it's a slow burn romance that has to do with ice skating. And the thing is ice skating is a sport, and I love sports romances, and Mariana Zapata just does sports romance in a slow burn way so freaking good that I have a feeling this book is going to be amazing. So all of Mariana Zapata books are extremely slow burn, so I'm going to have to pick this up at a time where I'm going to have the patience for it, but I think that it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I don't think I've ever read a book that has ice skating in it, and I always was a fan of ice skating. The Disney movie, Ice Princess or something like that. I don't know, I've always been into skating, so I'm really excited to read a book that has that topic in it. Next Next up, I have Playing for Keeps by Kendall Ryan, which is the first book in the Hot Jock series, which is a hockey romance college companion series. So I'm on a mission to find as many good sports romances as I can. And since this is the first book in like a 6 or 7 book series, I decided to get book 1. And if I enjoy it, then I'll go and get the rest of the series because they're all companions. So I didn't have to go and like get all of them right away. If I like book 1, I'll go and get the rest of them. So I do want to read this pretty soon just because if I enjoy it, then I'll be able to get the rest of the series like when Black Friday comes and all of like the book sales happen. So I'm putting it on like my earlier of November TBR so that I could like be prepared for Black Friday. But basically, this book is, I'm pretty sure, like a best friends, brothers sort of romance. It's this guy who's on the hockey team with this other guy that has a little sister, and he's gonna end up like hooking up with her or something like that, possibly. Don't take my word for that. And then obviously, like, you know, it was a mistake and then they don't really want to stop or something like that. I don't really know. Don't take my word for that. I haven't read it yet and I only skimmed the back of the book and now I'm getting all confused. But basically, it is a hockey sports romance. I really like hockey sports romances. So hopefully this one will be good. And I have heard good things about this author, so I'm like crossing my fingers on this one. Next up, I have Broken French by Tasha Boyd. So my friend recommended this to me. I didn't really see a lot of reviews on this. It was more of just like, she knows my style, she really liked it, and she's like, yeah, you should probably get it because it was a really solid read. So I got it. I mean, I'm very easy to convince when it comes to like buying books. It's like, I hear one good review, people say, I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna really enjoy it. I'm like, okay, order it, whatever. Basically, I did skim slightly what this is about, and it seems like it's about this girl who ends up taking this job in France to be this little girl's nanny. And when she gets there, she realizes that she actually got hired by this single dad and not this single mom. And she's gonna be a live-in nanny. So she's a little bit uncomfortable, but she already made her way all the way to France, and she's gonna end up just like taking the job and living with this single dad and his little kid. And I think the dad is like somewhat of a grump, or he's just not really happy with her being there or something like that. I don't really know much about it, but obviously it's going to be a really good romance, and I'm pretty sure it's dual POV. Don't take my word for that, but I have a feeling, yeah, it looks like it's dual POV. So I'm hoping it's gonna be good. Next up, I have Boss Man by V. Keelan. So this was actually another gifted book for me off my wish list by one of my followers on Instagram. So thank you so much for sending this to me. I am really excited to read this. This is actually going to be my first book by V. Keelan alone. I mentioned before, like V. Keelan and Penelope Ward, like I read a book by them before. And basically sometimes they write books together, but then they also write a lot of books by themselves. So this is going to be my first book by just V. Keelan. So I'm excited to see if I like her writing style alone. But basically this is like a steamy office, like workplace environment sort of romance. It says on the back of the book that it's about this like girl who is on a date, and then like she runs to the bathroom and like starts complaining to her friend or something that like the date is going really badly, and this guy overhears her and like starts giving her like dating advice, and she's like, who the hell are you? Like, stay away from me and like, you know, get out of my business sort of thing. And then she ends up going back to the table, and then this random guy like ends up showing up at the table and like starts like joining their conversation or something. And she basically just has a really bad first encounter with this guy, and then I guess she goes in for an interview the next day, and who do you know is the boss, the guy that she saw at that restaurant who like butted into her business. So I guess they're just gonna start off on really bad first terms, but obviously it's going to get really steamy, it's gonna get really good. I'm very excited. I love office, workplace environment sort of romances, so hopefully I'll like it. Next up, I have the Twisted series by Anna Hong. So I have the first 2 books, and I'm pretty sure there's one more book coming out in this series, but they're all companion books, so I don't really mind reading them now and then like getting the 3rd book like later on whenever it comes out. But basically, I've just heard really good things about it. I really don't know much about it other than the fact that these books are like really, really steamy and also just like a solid romance. So I'm pretty sure that book 1 is a best friends brothers romance, and then the second book is a bodyguard romance. I'm almost positive. But anyway, I love those 2 tropes, and I've just heard really good things about them. So I kind of just like bought them on a whim, and I added them to my November TBR. So hopefully I'll get around to them, and hopefully I will enjoy them. Next up, I have The Savage and the Swan by Ella Fields. So this is a fantasy romance standalone. So I know that I said I'm not really going to push myself to read any fantasy books this month, only because I know that I want to read romances. I know that fantasy isn't really clicking with me, so I don't really want to like waste any books when I'm like not in the mood for it. But the thing is that I've heard really good things about this, and I really like romances. And since this is a standalone, I'm kind of like putting it on my TBR in hopes that like if I'm somewhat down to try another fantasy this month, then I will read this, because I mean, you can't say no to a fantasy romance standalone. I mean, there's not much commitment here. Supposedly this one is really good because I've seen a lot of my friends read it and say good things about it. So I am hoping that maybe if I'm down, I will read it and enjoy it. So I originally thought that this was a Hades and Persephone's retelling, but then I was told otherwise, that it's actually some other sort of retelling. I don't even know which one. It was like either a Rapunzel or I don't even know. Don't ask me. But basically, I've heard good things, so I am like somewhat putting it on my November TBR, but I don't really know if I'm actually going to end up getting around to it. And the last books that I wanted to share with you is The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen by Daniel L. Jensen. So this is a fantasy romance duology that also is a part of a larger series. So I have heard that you could read the first two books and feel satisfied with the ending, except there's going to be more books in the series that follow like different characters or something like that. So I feel very confident that I could read these two books and not regret my decision of being left on a cliffhanger. So I am adding them to this TBR mostly because the other day I saw someone say such a good review about this, and I really like romances and I really do like fantasy romances. So I'm like, you know what? If I'm putting a fantasy on my list, it's gotta have to be a fantasy romance. So I mostly added this to this specific TBR because of that one good review that I saw the other day. Even though I've heard really good things about this series in general, I haven't really seen anything bad about it, but it was just like that one review was like, oh my God, I was mind blown, like enemies to lovers and, you know, fantasy and romance and just so many good tropes like mixed into here. Like, I'm pretty sure that it was like a, I'm gonna marry you, but I really came to kill you sort of thing. Like, I don't really know, but I've just heard like that it's really good. So I am adding it to this TBR in hopes that I might vlog myself reading this, because I do know that this is a very popular series, but also that like a lot of people also haven't really read it yet. So I am curious to know, do you want me to maybe vlog myself reading this? Because if you guys say yes, then it will push me even more to read them this month. So let me know down in the comment section below. But either way, this is the last book that I wanted to share with you for my November TBR. I am curious to know what you plan to read this November. Are you going to add any of the books that I mentioned in this video to your TBR? Or like, I don't know, just leave me a comment. I love chatting with you. But anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not currently subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. And anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And until next time, enjoy reading.